Good morning. Hello, all you beautiful, conscious entrepreneurs. My name is Carrie Severson, and I am your guest speaker for the morning. Today, we are going to be talking all about storytelling, the importance of storytelling, tips to get you published. I'll answer any questions you have about my writing career. And anything else I can help you with to make sure that you are published in 2017. So I'm just going to give a couple minutes, a minute really, to let anyone see this and pop in while I finish this one thing to ensure I have everything set. Yes, I do. All right, here we go. All right, so good morning and good afternoon, good evening. Hello to all the replay viewers. So who am I and my expertise on how I can be sharing storytelling this morning. I'm a published writer. I have been for about 20 years. I have a degree in journalism and spent my late teens and my entire 20s in the magazine industry. I've written from everything from politicians to I'm now what you consider a personal essayist for places like Redbook and Fingers Crossed, Good Housekeeping. Fingers crossed, I have a pitch out to them. They're looking for personal essays right now. By the way, Good Housekeeping is looking for personal essays. A little tip for you. Anyway, so I became a writer when I was 19 because I was bullied as a kid. I had low self-esteem as a kid. And I felt like the best way for me to make a difference in the way that girls treat girls and women treat women was to become part of the media and then change where the spotlight landed. So I started doing that in my early teens and have really been pursuing that ever since. I am a two-time entrepreneur. I launched a nonprofit in my early 30s, quite successful. It was called Severson Sisters. We had a series of workbooks on the market, we still do actually, called the Supergirl Guidebooks. Our publisher is called Morgan James. And it was in my nonprofit career that I started writing personal essays for big media outlets. My very first personal essay was for the Huffington Post, and that was called I'm a Recovering Burnout. I'm sure a bunch of entrepreneurs can understand that. I'm sure some of you are actually helping other entrepreneurs with avoiding burnout. So I started writing about my burnout experience for the masses. And what I realized at that time was so many people around the world wanted to connect with me about something super personal because they were going through it too. And suddenly this beloved journey of storytelling that I had been on for nearly 20 years at that point became something new for me. I had been writing about other people for so long. When I started writing about myself and what I was going through, it became this instant connector for me to learn about other people. And it was because of that and my success in personal writing that entrepreneurs started coming out of the woodwork and asking me to help them get published. And that's how my second business was designed. I am today a storyteller trainer, and I work with women around the world who have a desire to share their story and don't know how to do it. I have a number of storytelling e-courses, starting from an introductory storytelling course all the way over to a database course that helps writers become paid freelance writers. I have a mindset storytelling program where we work on like blind spots and head trash stories that we tell ourselves. I do a lot of group programs and one-on-one work. So storytelling is as important to me. Me getting published and writing my own stories, and now I actually I actually train other people to get published. Hi, Shelly. Good morning. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Okay, so I'm a little bit different when I talk about storytelling. I'm an intuitive, and I consider myself an intuitive entrepreneur because I can actually feel the energy of story. I help women sort of get that story that's sitting here or here off and out, and I help them heal it, and then we go off and rewrite it, and we find an outlet to get published. I believe that storytelling is an actual energy. I think the stories that we share can either be told in a positive or a negative manner, right? And the stories that are being told with positive energy are going to have a positive impact on others as well as us. The stories that we're writing when we're feeling neglected or hurt or angry, if we're writing from that perspective and we're putting that out into the world, that's going to cause. So I look at storytelling from an energetic perspective. So when I'm working with somebody and they want to write about their divorce, they'll be telling me something, and suddenly I'll feel tightness in my throat, or my heart will start to kind of flutter, and I'll ask them if they feel really ready to share this. And there's this pause, and I'm like, let's work on healing it first. Let's journal about it. Let's get that stuff out first before we craft the story. So my very first tip for you is to ensure that you're writing from the right headspace, that you're writing in the right heart space, and that whatever you're crafting you're a little bit down that road of actually having it healed before you go off and share it. I'm just looking at my notes here of what I want to share with you. Okay, the benefit of storytelling. The old way of storytelling used to be press releases, right? And then it moved into blogging. Now, personal essay writing is so hot. Like I said in the beginning of the broadcast, I literally just pitched Good Housekeeping yesterday. They're looking for personal essays. Personal essays are snippets into your life experience. They're anywhere from 500 to 1,000 words, and they are what you experienced, what you learned from it, and magazines, online platforms are craving that. It's sort of how we're evolving as a society. We're not just looking for the experts, right? We're looking for learning about what our neighbor is going through and having a soulful conversation about her experience. She could be the expert in it, but we want to know behind the scenes type stuff. That's really what personal essay writing is. I'm going to share in the thread, the comments here, an example of my last personal essay piece. I was published last week in Being Boss, and that was called Manifesting Can Be a Business Word, so I can share that. Before that, though, I was writing about my fertility journey. So my sweet spot is vulnerable. The more vulnerable, the better for me, because I sort of live in that as a writer, as a professional writer. I live in that, those sticky moments that I can craft and help others heal. And that's actually my specialty when working with clients. I'm actually really good at helping women share the heavy stories or the hard stories from their life. So I'll share with you a couple of examples, or so you get an idea of what I'm talking about, personal essay writing. Okay, so personal essay writing is the easiest way for you to get published. So here are some tips on how to come up with the story idea, and then how to write it. And if you guys have questions, even if you're watching the replay and you have a question about it, please just drop it in the comments, and I'll make sure to go back and answer questions along the way. Okay, so the best way to write, actually, let's back up. Let's think about what you should write, okay? So I want you to think about your greatest lesson that you've learned within the last 6 months. It can be a personal lesson, it can be a professional lesson. If it's a personal lesson, I want you to think of the silver lining in the lesson. Make sure that you feel comfortable sharing it. If it has family involved, make sure that you're writing that from a perspective of your experience and not their experience. Hi Steph, thanks for joining. Personal writing is about you. It's not necessarily about what happened to somebody you knew or what happened to your business partner or what happened to your husband or your wife. Personal writing has to be about your experience. So my biggest tip for you on how to come up with the lesson, how to come up with a personal story, is to take a deep breath, close your eyes, and let that settle into your body for a second. And think of the lesson that you've learned that comes to mind first within the last 6 months. For me, I would say from a business perspective, trusting my intuition has been a huge lesson for me. This storytelling business of mine, even though I'm a professional writer and have been for 20 years, this business is really a year old. I started helping entrepreneurs get published in December of last year, and it just sort of caught on fire, took off the ground, and now I have all these e-courses and programs and one-on-ones. And trusting my intuition has been a huge lesson for me over the last 6 months. So I would, if I were going to write about that, I would sit and I would journal for 20 minutes, and I would literally just free form write. What does that mean to me? Why is trusting my intuition such an important lesson? Why do I feel like this is something I believe is going to help my readers with their life? Okay, so the biggest tip I have for you on what story to write is your lesson, but then also why is it important to share it? So now you have your lesson, you free-formed write, you sort of got into the flow. Now you're going to sit down and you're going to craft 500 to 800 word first person narrative. So you're going to use I. You're going to be open and honest, and I say vulnerable, but some people are kind of uncomfortable with the word vulnerable, so I just say real. You're going to be real in it. Okay, you're going to let your heart show, you're going to let your soul show. You're going to write as if you're writing a letter to your best friend. The best piece of advice an editor at Redbook gave me when I was writing this really personal essay last year was pretend the reader is your best friend and she can call you on your stuff. She's not going to let you get away with it. All right, so 500 to 800 words, first person narrative on your biggest lesson. You're going to show your emotions, and then I'm moving into some other tips I have for you. So the one common thing I see happening a lot in personal essays is a lot of times writers will look at your story as like a ongoing conversation with you and the reader, and it's not necessarily, it gets really confusing when you're trying to talk to the reader. So make sure that your language is vivid. You're avoiding like Urban Dictionary terms. Make sure you're avoiding run-on sentences. Make sure it's really simple to follow, common language, and vivid with your actual emotion showing. So the last tip I have for you is in the story itself. So I like to say that storytelling is an energy, and I believe that the scarier the story that we have sitting here, or sitting right here, the scarier the story we have here, the more important it is for us to actually step into it and share it. And here's my belief on storytelling and what I've seen happen to me and all my clients who've been published over the last year. In my opinion, storytelling is the biggest law of attraction tool we have in our tool belt. Okay, so it's when you're vulnerable and you're open and you're sharing this lesson that you've experienced and you're putting it out for the world to see. This is what I've had happen for me. Infinite possibilities are set in motion. Random things will start to come in, right? So what I've seen is that the bigger the story it is for you to step into, the more activated that law of attraction actually becomes. So when you're sitting and you're looking at these, when you're sitting and you're looking, good morning everyone, hi Lynn, hi Megan. When you're looking at these really vulnerable Facebook posts and you're so in awe that she had the guts to share that, take a step back and question, are you ready to share something like that? And are you ready to share beyond a Facebook group and out on, let's say, what's a big media outlet that I have a lot of clients published on? Oh, I had a client published a couple weeks ago on an outlet called Better After 50. It's read by 3.4 million viewers a year. And that one piece led to an invite from the editor to write a second piece. So question for you is, what are you ready to share? And can you get honest with yourself and get centered with yourself to share it? So those are two separate questions that I would love to hear from you, and see if you are really ready to step into it. So this is what I mean in terms of storytelling and it being a law of attraction tool, okay? Let's see. My very first piece for Huffington Post is called I'm a Recovering Burnout. And I was inundated with emails from people around the world for like 2 weeks. Totally blindsided by it. Had no idea that was going to happen. In one of those emails was an invite from a performance group in New York City. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona. You couldn't tell from all my Christmas stuff, but there's cactuses outside that window right there. Anyway, so I was invited to New York City after sharing that first piece with Huffington Post. Got up on stage, told my story of how I recovered from burnout. That one video, it was 7 minutes, it's still on my YouTube channel. That one video today continues to bring me clients 2 years later. That one piece got me an invite to write for Redbook a year later, and now possibly Good Housekeeping a year after that. So infinite possibilities are set free when you share your soul stories with a lot of heart, a lot of authenticity, short, concise, vivid language, and you find the right outlet to get published on. So I find that sometimes stories will fall flat if we're in a rush and we're just looking for, where can I get published? Where can I get published? Again, storytelling is an energy, so it's like any other aspect of your business. It's important to take a breath and to look at the best benefits of that story for the audience, and then find a platform or a media outlet that will match the energy of the story. I'm looking for people who are looking for me. The bigger the attraction to that, I'm looking for people who are looking for me. I love that, actually, because that's what I mean. I love matching the energy of the story to the energy of the media outlet. If you're writing in alignment with what people are looking for, they're going to reach out to you. So I gave you a tip on, I find it so hard to tell my story in so few words. Would you suggest getting an editor? Because we are in an instant society, magazines, online outlets will give you a word count. So like sheknows.com, one of the biggest read magazine or online platforms for women. I think it's read by like 80 million a month. They have a word count max. So sometimes personal essays that I've written for them have a max of 600 words, which is super hard for me. I'm used to writing like 1,500. So what, Steph, what I encourage is for you to get as concise as possible for your first draft. If you're able to pitch it to an editor at one of these magazines, online magazines that actually pay for your stories, she's going to edit your work. And I say she because every editor I have right now is a woman. So rather than what I do is I help create the first rough draft, and then I actually go out on behalf of my clients and pitch editors, and then I work with the editor and so I'm that middle person. But if you can do that, or you can get it to a first draft and then pitch an outlet yourself. But word count is really important, so do your best to get it concise. What other questions do you guys have? Let's see, do I have anything else in this? Just so you guys know, I have a storytelling group called the Soulful Storyteller. I do lives in there every day, try to offer as many tips as I can. There's other writers that are in the process of getting published, starting to write. I actually work a lot with women who are afraid to start writing. How do we find out the word count, and how do we pitch our stories? Word count is usually suggested on the actual media outlet. And a lot of times you'll find that in the contact section. Yeah, it is. Steph, it is a lot of times in there. So I don't know if she knows word count is in there. The pitch is a well-crafted email to a lot of, like, Success Magazine, for example. If you're going to pitch Success Magazine, I'm pretty sure when you pitch from their website, it's literally like info@successmagazine.com or something like that. If they're impressed with your introductory email to them, an editor will respond and ask to see your piece. The pitch is a well-crafted, think of the pitch like a first date. You're on your best behavior, you're going to impress somebody, and you're going to be value and benefit, right? So the first paragraph to the pitch is, why should the editor read your story? What is the reader going to get out of the story? And who are you to write it? That's really the basis of the pitch. It's no more than 4 short paragraphs. Do not submit your published piece, or your written piece rather, do not submit your written piece in the initial pitch email unless they ask for it. A lot of times editors are inundated with pitches, and when they see an attachment, they'll delete it right away. So the other opportunity for you to pitch, a lot of times these outlets, like Best Kept Self, for example, beautiful media outlet, I really like them. They ask for your piece cut and paste on their contact us page. So sometimes the pitch is literally you just going to their Write For Us tab in their on their website and literally uploading your documents, writing your bio, your Facebook and Twitter profiles and things like that. Could I name a few sites according to the type of market you're targeting? Well, this is what I know. I know that Success Magazine is looking for personal development stories around professionals. I know that Being Boss is looking for stories around lessons as an entrepreneur. I love Best Kept Self. They're looking for, I'm pretty sure it's females, those tips on how to run your business better. And a lot of these themes have an element of balance to it, have an element of, again, you being super personal and how you've learned these lessons. Mind Body Green is always looking for soulful. My pieces with Mind Body Green have been around meditation, mindfulness, And what other kind of soulful markets? Ooh, here's one I love. Kicking Ass and Looking Pretty. They publish really rough personal stories. So like Triumph, Kicking Ass and Looking Pretty is looking for Triumph stories, personal stories. I actually have, it's hard for me to think like that because my database is so in depth. I have like 150 different media outlets that I know of. So I'm usually going to the ones that I've had clients publish on recently. So how do I know what type of stories they're looking for? Steph, honestly, it's because of my experience with these people, with these editors. So I'm telling you what I know. But my tip for you on getting published there is for you to go to research their outlets and then see what they're publishing. That's really how you can kind of learn there. That's good. It's all good. So I'm not sure if this is allowed. So Shelly, feel free to delete this if you want. But my Intro to Storytelling course is actually called Storytelling Your Way to Success. It's online, 3 weeks, and I lowered it it's $57. It's on sale for $57. So I'm going to leave it at $57 for the rest of the week. I'll put the link in the thread. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to email me or, private message me or whatever. Ask me questions for those of you who have joined the replay. I'm over in the Soulful Storyteller Facebook group, and I think I'm overstaying my welcome here. So thank you so much for joining. I love storytelling. I hope that you get published all sorts of ways from all sorts of people in 2017. Happy holidays.